Welcome to another episode of What's Happening in Travel. This is actually episode 79. And I'm alone today again. My buddy Kusho is not here. So he's still taking care of some family issues. But today I'm outside. So I think that's why you're hearing all the noise and stuff in the back end. But we're going to try to catch up with travel, what's going on in travel. My background is London. Let me switch over a little bit. And you can see that's the financial center there in London. So yes, I'm dreaming of travel. London is a place that I visit the most, so I thought I'd throw that photo in there today. So lots of news going on. The first one is that the CDC has adjusted the guidelines for mask wearing inside and outside for vaccinated individuals in the United States. And but what they do say is that there are, limitations, right? So for example, if you are somebody with a compromised immune system and you're vaccinated, you should still wear a mask. And if you're not vaccinated, you should still wear a mask. So it's really, if you're vaccinated and in good health, they think the science supports it. That if you, even if you were able to contract COVID, because some people who've had the vaccine have contracted COVID, but the illness is not as bad as if you didn't, is what the science is showing. So go to the CDC website at cdc.gov and take a look at those restrictions. Now, what does this mean for travel? It means that when you travel, if you go to somewhere within the United States, then you can take your mask off if you want. But if if the rules of whatever place you're using still requires a mask, you should still obey whatever that rule is, because not every part of the United States have cleaned up or has cleaned up COVID to a satisfactory standpoint just yet. So if you go to a place where there's a lot of cases, then you really need to make sure that you follow whatever the rules are. So, for example, on an airplane, they still require you to wear a mask. In airports, they still require you to wear a mask. In supermarkets, you're probably still required to wear a mask. So, please don't go arguing with people that the guideline says this. They're guidelines, and as individuals, we can choose to wear our mask. If we want to, but if you're going to use an establishment and that establishment says you need to wear a mask, then you should wear one. So that's it for the guidelines. I'm going to put notes to that in the show notes. The other topic is a lot of people said they want to go to Italy, and guess what? There is a way to get to Italy now. Now Delta has been testing COVID test flights, I guess what they call them. So basically, they have select flights from Atlanta and I think also from JFK to Rome. And then you go through a set procedures that you have to go through. And so when you get to Rome, you don't have to do the quarantine, which makes sense, right? And so what they've done between now and the 30th of June, they have all the flights that they're operating to Italy. Through these tests, you can use it. And if you go to Delta's website, and I leave a link as well, you will get to see which flights and which city this will work for. Again, it's very important that you follow all the restrictions that they have, because typically you'll have to take a whole bunch of tests as you go through, and there's certain procedures that you have to follow to make this happen. Some of the routes they're doing is Atlanta to Rome. They're also doing JFK to Milan, and let's say they're doing JFK to Rome. And of course, the helicopter decides to fly by while I'm doing this. So this is kind of what happens when you do a podcast outside. You get sounds like that coming through. But it's a beautiful day, so I thought you guys would enjoy listening to the birds and things like that. So let's see. I'm just looking at the article I'm reading. Is a combination of what's on Delta's website and also what the Points guy has also put together. Just wanted to use a combination of the two of them. Um, Okay, so I think that's it for the Italy stuff. So basically, if you want to go to Italy, Delta has a great program where you don't have to do the quarantine if you follow the instructions that they give you. In other news about Italy, Greece is also welcoming tourists. But again, they have restrictions. So I created a website, travelrestrictions.passradar.com, and at travelrestrictions.passradar.com, you can it'll give a list of the countries, and if you and all the links that you need for that particular country. So go check that out. I don't have one for Greece yet, but I'm gonna set one up, and so I think that should take care of that. The other thing is, I guess the next news item that we have is when you're heading to the Caribbean. Now, the Caribbean, every island has a different rule because every island is dealing with COVID in a different manner. And although the islands are small, they're affected very differently. Initially, Antigua was the first island to kind of invite people back. Then they had a COVID outbreak and they stepped back a little bit. So did Barbados. They had a break, they had a COVID outbreak, they stepped back. Anguilla, they had a COVID outbreak, so they stepped back. So Jamaica is the same thing, right? All of them have the different rules. So when you go into these countries, you do have to check their rules. So for example, in Jamaica, if you go as a tourist, there is a 14-day, well, there's not a 14-day quarantine for tourists, but you still have to do a test. You still have to fill a form out. And of course, you always have to get tested whenever you return to the United States, which reminds me now with these returning to the United States test, normally it's a PCR test, but I think now some places are doing at-home tests. So the key though is to make sure that you've checked what the restriction is for that particular country. Print out the documentation if you need to, because what I've realized is that some countries or some places don't have the rules written down. So, for example, a friend of mine was going to Ecuador from the West Coast, and he researched it. It said, yeah, all you need is your COVID vaccine card to show that you've been fully vaccinated, which fully vaccinated means it's been at least 2 weeks after you've gotten your last shot. If it's a one shot, then it's 2 weeks after the one shot. If it's a two shot, it's 2 weeks after the second shot. So he got to the airport, and what happened was the kiosk said one thing and the agent said another thing. And eventually he found someone with some semblance of knowledge and told him that this is a rule, this is what it says in the system. And so he was able to travel without having to go get a test. But then he had to go, because otherwise he'd have to go try to figure out a test. And these COVID tests, the ones that they need for travel, are not immediate tests. They normally takes, it's 6, 7 hours, sometimes maybe, or they'll take, 48 hours. The interesting thing is that another friend of mine, I saw him, this is Nonstop Dan, he's on Instagram. He was flying into Switzerland, Sweden, sorry, into Gothenburg. And he was able to take a test on arrival, and it was free is what they were doing. So they're trying to make sure that people, you know I guess, are safe. The UK, they have restrictions as well, so make sure that you're going through. So basically what I'm saying is, if you're going to travel somewhere, whether it be domestic or international, you do need to check the restrictions for the place that you're going, because yes, even some US states have restrictions. Some will require some level of quarantine, whether it be, you have to take a test on arrival or send information in or things like that. So as the country opens up, just be careful out there. It's pointless to argue with anyone. The flights are full, the fares are quite high, and if you're a non-rev, the loads are quite high, so it's probably going to be very difficult for you to get on a flight. So bear that in mind as well. I don't think any of the airlines have dropped any mask requirements yet, so you still have to wear a mask, and so you still have to wear a mask in the airports as well. Because more people are traveling, a lot of airlines are bringing more people back for work. So that's a really, really good thing. I saw some of my friends say, "Hey, I went back for training, and I'm flying again." So that's really good. All right. So I think that's what I have for those. Now, one the other thing that has come up is so Delta is now hiring. Well, the airlines are always hiring new people, and Delta is doing new hires. And for new hires, they are requiring that you're vaccinated. And the reason why they're doing this is they said, well, they have about 74,000 people, and about 60% of them have been vaccinated, and they want to keep this trend going of vaccinated people. Um, so that's what Delta is doing. United had said earlier this year that they wanted people to be vaccinated, their employees, but they haven't really done anything yet. But you know how the airlines are. As soon as they see one person do something, they go and check. It's a competitive thing, right? They check to see what the next person is doing. Um, Let me just see. I think those were um, all the ones that I had for today. Um, Very short, very sweet. It's very hard to do a podcast that you normally do with two people with one person, because then you don't have the banter that you usually have. Um, and so, but hopefully, Kusha will be back soon, and then we can take care of. We can continue with our normal show. I guess two other things. Two new airlines one, Avela Airlines. They're based in Burbank. Well, I should say they're based in Houston, but they fly out of Burbank. And they did West Coast flight. I think it was Burbank to, I want to say, Santa Rosa, maybe. Um, and so at some point, I really want to go fly that car. I haven't been doing any flying at all. I am going to do, I think I'm going to do a Texas road trip first. And then I'll probably go do some flying. Um, yeah. So that's kind of what I'm doing. Breeze Airways is coming up. They're based in Salt Lake City. I need to check and see when the dates are on that one. And of course, if you guys have any questions, feedback@pastrider.com. And I think that should do it. Yeah. So we are on Spotify. We are on Amazon Music. We're everywhere you can find a podcast. We are there. Apple Podcasts as well. And leave a review, leave a comment. If you got questions, let me know. If you're going to travel, let me know so we can know. And if you see anything out there that you think we should report on, definitely let you know. It's just very, at the moment, it's extremely frustrating to travel, especially for international travel, because there are so many different rules. Um, and so I want you guys to be cognizant of that whenever you travel, especially as non-rebs. We can't just pop into a place for the weekend and pop back out again. It just doesn't happen that way. And we always have to check the rules. If you don't feel well, I've been uploading videos of flight reviews, and I know that people have always been coughing, but now that you can actually hear it in the videos, it's ridiculous how many people fly when they're sick, and you can hear it in the videos. So bear that in mind, that people don't care because they want to get somewhere and they just go. And I've seen people like really, really sick on flights, and I'm like, you should not even be on this flight. But when you hear it in the videos that I've been doing, it's quite interesting. So that's all I have. So this is Kerwin with what's happening in travel at passrider.com/WHIT. And I'm without my buddy Kushal, so I'm not very happy about that. But Kushal will be back soon, and then our show will be back to normal. So again, thank you very much. This is episode 79. We're getting close to 100. And it's actually been recorded on Saturday, May 15th. So talk to you guys soon.